Shari, it is an honor to be standing here speaking with you. It's not on a normal topic for you, I would say, but the
Which one?
Oscars. I'm
Let me guess.
the Oscars has been huge for years, and there's always been, different controversies and things like that. The big thing this year, though, is diversity, and I want to talk to you a little bit about that. Where do you come into play?
Well, if this is any answer, my little diversity now pin. It's fascinating. I think that it's both sides of the story. While I believe there were some people that were omitted this year unjustifiably because Idris Elba gave an amazing performance, as did Abraham, the little boy that was also in Beast of No Nations. My feeling is probably that people just didn't see the film. When I actually got it, I saw Netflix, and I didn't even think that it was up for Oscars. I was thinking it was a SAG nomination. So I think probably more to the concern is whether or not people are willing to see all the movies and then justifiably vote on them. As you look at things, 12 Years a Slave won. There's been plenty of opportunities for people of color to have worked and to have gotten nominated for things. But I think it doesn't just end at a black-white issue. My mother was Native American, and I don't see enough Native Americans in television and on films. I don't see enough Hispanics and Asian people as well. So I hate for this to have just become a black-white issue. I think the issue really starts way into the beginning from writing, where people don't need to if people want to make a statement, then add Native American or add Indian or add Hispanic into the script so that people can see that there's a diverse moment. I think it starts with the casting. I think it starts with producers and directors also thinking outside of the box. So I hate for everybody as somebody who's voting to be blamed for not picking better choices than some. But by the same regard, you do have to start somewhere in order for people to, you have to start way behind in order to catch up to the front. If that
I
makes any
think
sense.
it does, and it does have to start at the beginning because if you look at a lot of the films, not all of them, but a lot of the films this year that are nominated are true stories. So you can't necessarily change the character to fit different diversity.
Correct.
But you're absolutely right. It has to start at the beginning. Maybe pick a different story. Maybe go with something else, and that's where your casting all starts, right?
It's where casting, it starts in the casting, and it starts on the script. Everything starts with the written word. But then from that moment on, you sort of have to feel in terms of not putting everybody into a box and just picking that person. I was looking at some projects that are coming up, and once again, there's a lot of people of color that are being overlooked for things, and you sort of want to go, but why? What's the problem? And I think it just starts because we live in a box. If you're used to having people of color around you, you start thinking in terms of having people of color around you on television and in films. But if you don't, then you don't. So I think we just have to sort of open up everybody's gray matter and sort of pick and choose. I also have always been a big proponent of not making any sort of segregated statement. I don't like being black or white or Hispanic or Latin or Asian or any of these things, especially because my mother, like I said, was Iroquois Indian. So I sort of think when I start getting really riled up, I go, you know what? Everybody go. This was my country first.
Right? Take that stand.
Exactly. That's my stand.
Now, let's talk a little bit about the ribbon. It's going to come into play on Sunday at the Oscars. What made you decide that this is the way to speak up and say something?
Well, it's always just a little bit of something that you sort of come up with. Sometimes it'll happen on the day. People will see the ribbons. Somebody will ask about it. Hopefully, even if one person reacts and makes a difference, that's a little bit further, like I said, a step ahead as opposed to just constantly falling back behind.
Well, I think it's going to do wonders. I really think that it'll open people's eyes. And, as you were saying, not everybody has seen every single movie that is nominated for an Oscar. And maybe with this interview, they'll realize that a little more research needs to be done.
I think that's the real question. I stand in a situation where I did not see Will Smith's movie. So while I first, Jada was of course the one that instigated the whole thing. While some people will say, well, she just felt that way because Will didn't get nominated. But it's a little bit more than that. Like I said, once I realized that Idris Elba was really up for it, he was overlooked. But there were so many good movies this year that I hate for it to have just become, like I said, the black-white issue. I think that you've just got so many things. When you go to vote, you pick your top 10 movies. And if if number 4 and 5 were Beast of No Nation, then maybe number 4 and 5 was Beast of No Nation for a lot of other people, which is why it kind of maybe didn't make the list. So there has to be some way to make it a little bit more objective. But that's all I can say. I have no answers or no clues other than wear a ribbon.
I like it. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me.
Thank you.
I hope it all goes over well on Sunday.
I do too.